import AWS Wrangler as WR, and then I just did like WR dot. And then you basically just want to look for things that you're familiar with. These are things that you can see the number of services it does interact with, right? The main ones for us right now is S3, right? The catalog, right? Catalog is Glue, and then Athena, all right? Probably Postgres. That's kind of interesting. Right? That would be interesting to explore. My guess is that connects to your RDS instance if you want to query that, right? And just remember, the reason why you have access to S3 is because in your credentials, right? In this credentials file, you have your keys, your secret access keys, and that lines up to your IAM, right? And this IAM, the user has permission, right? So you're signing in as this user. You can see that I just created this 5 days ago. So you sign in as this user. This user has admin access, right? Administrator access. And then because of that, when you access AWS Wrangler, it looks to those credentials. It's logged in as that user, and therefore it can access, right, these various services. So we can do WR dot S3 dot, and then we can read something, what does it read? I'm guessing CSV, right? And now we want to plug in, and I'm not which you probably can tell, I'm not the best at this Wrangler thing. It's not something I use every day, but hopefully we can just explore the library. Let's go to this data engineering careers, and then we'll just do properties is probably fine. Actually, let's go back. Click on this, and now this should have the S3 URI. Copy this, and then we plug that in there, and I hope that works. Cool. Okay, and now we have, some data. Okay, the next thing that you can do from here is create a database. So how do you do that? WR.catalog, I'm guessing. And now here's things about our databases, right? This is all related to Glue. So here's create database. You can do, first I'd like to do .databases to see the list of databases, right? We can delete a database now from here. I guess we'll just create a database now. Create database, and then we'll just put in the name of the database, which is, for this, maybe we can call it jobs. All right, and now let's see the result. Do databases again. All right, and now we have this jobs thing. Okay, so what's next after this? Then it would probably be to point this bucket, right, this file, to the to this database. Basically, we want to create a new table from this file. So how do we do that? I always forget. It's this W3 catalog thing. I put in my notes, I thought. Oh, here it is. Okay. WR S3. Why it's in S3 is a little off to me, right? It feels like it should be in catalog because this is a Glue operation. And then it has this store Parquet metadata. For this, I don't know if we can do this when it has, when we're working with CSV data. My guess is not. Let's take a look. Let's see if we do WR.S3. And then I'm looking for store, and I guess that's all we have. Oh, yes, read. Here's a read Parquet metadata, and here's store Parquet metadata. So I'm guessing this is all we have. I'm not sure if this will work with S3 data. So I guess we won't. Yeah, let's not chance it. Okay, so instead we can go to use this other data set. So that will be over here, Jigsaw Wrangler. So you can see what I did was I partitioned the data. How did I partition it? Let's take a look. Basically what I did was I just read the data frame. So that's this DF file. and then I wrote the data frame to S3. Now there was an error in the data. I apologize for this. I did not realize this. That annoying error was that there was like a space between these column names. So because of that, that may have caused an issue, but let's go through it anyway. So we'll just go over here. Yeah, this is my Wrangler lab, Python 3-i console.py. So what did this do? This is called get data. All get data what it did was read the data set and return a data frame. Okay? So if you look at this, you can see here's my data frame. All right? And you can explore it like df.columns. Here's the various columns. Okay? The next thing was to basically use Wrangler to write this to a bucket. So that's what this function was designed for. So this one we did take the data frame, write it to a Parquet file to this path. I'm guessing the path is that Jigsaw Wrangler, and then partition it by a column in the data frame. Okay, the data set true, remember, means that you kind of treat the whole bucket as a single file. Okay, so we can do that here. I guess we can do this Jigsaw Wrangler one. And just refresh this. Let's just write it out. wr.s3 to Parquet. Then what is it? The data frame. df equals the data frame, comma, the path equals this path that we specified over here. Comma, the partition columns, right? Saying that we want this to partition by the date. That makes sense. And then data set equals true, meaning, treat this whole bucket as a, basically as a single file, and then overwrite, right? Meaning that don't append the data from this data frame, but reset it basically. And then this should return to me. This is just a warning. This isn't an error at this point. It does give you like a hint as to how this works. If we're partitioning by the date, what they're doing is they're grouping, first taking our data frame and then grouping our rows by date, right? You can see this, group by the partition columns, and then put it into these separate buckets. So eventually we'll get this. We'll just see the return value eventually. This will come through. And then from there we can do, once this thing finishes, sorry, it's a lot of data, we could read the S3. We should also treat it as a data set true, right, to read it. And then from there, what's next is basically to use glue to crawl the data. Okay? And just remember, glue doesn't change any of your data. All it does is give you can see these various databases that then you can query. After you crawl it, then you can query it with Athena. Okay, so this finally wrote, right? You can see that here it wrote this, and then right? It partitioned it by the date, so that did work. What would be next is to take this path and now do our wr.s3 dot, I think it's this one, store Parquet metadata. Parquet metadata, and then we can, store this. I guess we can store it here in this jobs database. This was our new one, the jobs database. So we just fill this stuff out. So what is it? It's the path. That's the path to the data, right? Where does the data currently live? So store Parquet metadata, path equals this, comma, the database. We can call it jobs, right? That's the one we just created. Sorry that there's a little, and then the table will call the same thing. These are like some transaction information. Data set equals true, meaning treat the whole bucket as one data set. And the overwrite means, if we're treating this as a table, right, like don't append to the table, but kind of start with a new set of data. And that should be fine. So now Glue should be crawling our data. Does Athena also query results into S3 on top of the databases? Yes, you can save the results of a query. Like for right now, what we're doing is just retrieving the results, but you can have the results of a query be stored in S3. I don't think that's done by default, but I do know you can set it up so that occurs. Okay, so now this thing worked, I believe. Let's take a look. Here's jobs, and then here's our table. And you can see that points to Jigsaw Wrangler. Okay? So now what's next from here is I like to probably explore the data. So WR, that's for Wrangler. And then just think about what's the, figure out what we want to use, probably Athena. Dot. And now get query results, right? Get query results. And now I think we pass through the query, right? Select all from, what do we call this thing? Transactions. Say limit 2. And then database equals, we called it jobs. I don't know why. Oh, is it not database? Let's find out. Oh, read SQL query. Sorry about that. So I did get query results, but it should be read SQL query is the method. Okay, so Athena, read the SQL query. Select. This is the the table, just the query. Select all from transactions, and then we specify the database that we want to query. Okay. And this will return to us a data frame. It takes a second. In this, it gave me an error, or a warning, I should say, but it did give me the results of this. Then from here, I'll show you there, we'll get an error here, but it's just a quick fix. You can query this just like anything else, where payment or status equals canceled, right? This won't work. This won't work because, right, we're using the same quotation marks for the string, but the double quotes won't work either, unfortunately. What we'll have to do, we'll get an error here. See, it says column cancel cannot be resolved. So it thinks that this thing here was a column. So we just have to reverse the kinds of quotes. So these should be double quotes out here. I don't know why. It's just the way it works. And then these have to be single quotes here. And now make this double quotes, and then we'll be good. Okay, so you can see this. Select all from transactions. Here's my single quotes. Here's my double quotes. Limit 2. Right, and this, if you couldn't figure out how to store these results automatically, you could just write it, right? df.to, do the wr.s3 to Parquet, right? And then specify it there too, right? So it just takes, it's fine for you to Google this stuff, to look it up. That's not a big deal. What you do want is to become familiar with the pattern, or the fact that Glue is reading our metadata, right? Reading our S3 bucket. Athena is allowing us to query our bucket as if it were a table, right? Partitioning the data in doing that, and the fact that Wrangler is connecting to your AWS account by looking at the configuration stored in this folder. Oh, and let me show you that one error. So let's do this. Let's open up the config. We'll mess this up. We'll put this as global. If I do that, and then I try to read the CSV, this will break, I think. Unless it already loaded. No, it looks like it's going to break. Otherwise, we'll redo it. Okay, cool. So this broke. See, could not connect to endpoint URL. Basically, it just doesn't have that authentication. So now we can change it back, right? Change this to US East 1. Now this lines up with what you'll see in the S3 bucket, right? Let me just show you. Go here. It's not based on what's up top here, right? It's you have to like click on the bucket, the right one, and take a look to see it. Right? It's based on this. And now that this lines up, right, then we can do it again. And now we should be successful. All right, see that? There it worked. Okay. All right. Other questions about, it's fine for you to go through all of this again. That's totally fine. Okay, the only thing I have left for you today, I can give you time on Sunday as well, is then to see how to put this together with Prefect. And like I said, this is more of like a code along, but not even a code along, like a code walkthrough than anything else. So this will kind of show you, it will be a review of Prefect and then show you how to, you may remember when we first worked with Prefect, we were writing the CSV data locally. Instead, this writes the CSV data to AWS, right, using Wrangler. Okay. So it's for you to see how these things get put together. All right, questions about anything you want me to review about this? Or something else to go back over? All right.